I, F21, have 3 older brothers. My brother, M32, is married. His wife is 30. Both of our parents are lawyers. Mom was still working full-time when my brothers were born/they were little. Then they had me, and my mom, who always wanted a girl, decided to switch to stay-as-home mom, and later on she started working part-time when I started school. I think I was a little bit more sheltered than my brothers, but I think that's just because I'm a girl and not because our parents love me more. I've seen it with my friends' parents as well. I am also married and I'm a stay-as-home mom too. My husband and I have a 4-month-old baby boy. Well, now the conflict. This happened last week at my nephew's birthday party. At one point, I asked everyone if they minded if I nursed my baby there or if I could go to one of the bedrooms to do it. Everyone was fine with it, so I just followed through and we continued talking. I'm only breastfeeding my son. I don't pump milk or give him formula. My sister-in-law asked me about it. I told her that I just prefer to do it like this. My son's pediatrician says that he's healthy and doesn't need formula, so I like breastfeeding. Well, my sister-in-law thought that it was very offensive how I said that I liked it because it sounded as if I don't understand my privilege for being able to do it. She said, of course you like it because you don't do anything else all day than have your kid in your arms and breast. I feel like that came out of nowhere honestly, and I asked her why she was saying that. She told me that she's tired of hearing me talk about how wonderful motherhood is because I'm just a glorified housewife and I talk like being a mother is the easiest thing in the world, just because I don't work and I don't do most of the housework. I told her that every time I talk about motherhood, I do it from my perspective. It's not my fault that other women don't enjoy it as much as I do. I am giving my opinion and that's all. Well, then she started calling me out on my privileges and said that I'm just a silly girl who doesn't understand the world. I got angry and replied to her, so on top of what my sister-in-law was saying, my brother started telling me to stop with that spoiled brat attitude and that I need to face the real world, and he insisted on how privileged and spoiled I am, by our parents and my husband. My husband intervened, my brother and him argued too. My parents also tried to say that sister-in-law's attack was uncalled for. My husband and I left, so did my parents. Well, about half an hour after I left, I received a text from my brother saying that everyone was uncomfortable and some people have left his son's birthday party because I can't take criticism. He also said that my nephew is severely upset with me. My husband and parents are very obviously on my side. So are my friends, although one of them told me that maybe my sister-in-law is stressed out because of her job and taking care of her children, and as another mother, I should be more understanding. Comment 1. This is so obviously not about breastfeeding. It is about your brother's resentment towards you because you got a very different childhood than he did. He is taking it out on the wrong person. It's your mother that he should be confronting, not you. Seeing another child clearly favored over you hurts, and it can hurt long into adulthood if not addressed and dealt with. I think your attitude shows that you have no empathy for your brother and his hurt. Sure, they handled this completely incorrectly and were rude and bad hosts, but hurt can make you irrational. However, he is an adult and needs to start behaving like it. I hope your brother gets the help he needs, and maybe going North Carolina with you all will help him heal. Comment 2. Based on comments and the story, I think the issue is your parents very clearly have always favored you. So maybe you didn't do anything wrong, but you're just not liked by your brothers/their spouses. Hard to judge this one without the full background. I'm going with not enough info. Comment 3. I get the feeling there is a lot left being unsaid, that this wasn't a one-off and that you have been making a lot of comments about how easy motherhood is, essentially rubbing it in other people's faces on how you have it better. Also, not because our parents love me more. Have you asked your brothers if they believe that? Because having a mother quit work to look after their 4th kid and not the first 3 seems like you were more loved. Last year, my friend and I ticketed for Taylor Swift in our country, Singapore. She got us tickets in the front of the 2nd level for day 1 and I was able to get us good floor seats for day 4. We are both university students. I babysit to earn money and once a week do some work for my uncle. Last week, The keyboard on my laptop stopped working just 6 weeks after my warranty expired. I took it to Apple and they said it needs to be replaced. It will cost about $1,000 to fix it as it is out of warranty. For that, I might as well just pay a few $100s more and buy a new one, as there are a couple of other issues with it, notably an annoying crack in the screen from when I tripped over holding it. I have decided to sell my floor ticket and just go the first day. I will get at least $2,500 from selling it due to how close it is, more than enough to cover the laptop, and the rest I can put into my savings account to have some savings handy in my account. This will be helpful for me for times where I need to babysit less because I am busy during exam period. My oldest sister is 10 years older and a lawyer. She was unable to get tickets. When she found out I am selling mine, she got angry I did not offer it to her for face value. Face value is not going to pay even half of a new laptop. She said I am being scummy by buying tickets to sell for more. That was not my intention. I'm upset to have to sell the ticket, but our parents are not well off and I really need a working laptop for my studies. If the keyboard didn't stop working, I wouldn't be selling the ticket. I'm only doing it for necessity because I really need this laptop for university. She said I should get a cheaper brand than Apple instead of scalping, but everything is interlinked with my iPhone and Apple Calendar, and I really don't like Windows OS and want to be stuck with it for years. I plan to buy extended warranty this time and keep it for 3 years if possible. I said if she buys me a new laptop with the extended warranty, she can have the ticket, but she refused. It is unfair. So I plan to sell it. But she keeps putting up stories on Instagram about how I am a trashy scammy scalper, so IDK if I am being a J. I didn't buy the ticket with the intention of reselling it. I'm selling it because something crappy happened and I need the money for my studies. Comment 1. NTA, your sister has no right to demand you sell it at face value. She is just spewing poison because she is butthurt at not being able to score the tickets herself, and because she is trying to manipulate and guilt you into giving them to her for a price that she cannot find in the market. Comment 2. NTA. That's not scalping. But I gotta say, aiming to keep a laptop for 3 years? Dude. If you run through them so that 3 years seems like a challenge, you maybe should change to a cheaper model. Not gonna go into the environmental impact rant, but believe you me, I'm thinking it hard. Comment 3. ESH, you have the right to sell your ticket to whoever you want. Your sister shouldn't be blasting you on social media and should just accept that. But I dunno if it's just me, but in my opinion you should never sell a ticket for more than face value. Doesn't matter if others are willing to pay more because they're desperate. The whole point of reselling a ticket to something you can't go to anymore is so that you haven't lost that money for something you won't see. My dad got married to Eve last year. Eve has 2 kids. Her son is 4 now and her daughter is 2. There's a lot of deep stuff in Eve's background and in the kids with their paternal side of the family. But they really had nobody other than Eve until my dad and Eve met. Once they got married, my dad adopted them. Then my dad's relatives didn't want the kids to be treated the same as the rest of the grandkids and told Dad they would never mean as much to them as the rest of the bio family would, so he told them to get lost and cut ties with them. When all 3 other sides, Dad's, Eve's and the kids' paternal side, were basically not in the picture, Dad asked my mom's family, my mom died when I was 2, if they would embrace my step-siblings as family and treat them the way they would me, because they were now my siblings and my family and I loved them, so it was important for me to see them being embraced by my family. My family actually asked me if what Dad said was true and I told them it wasn't. I said I hardly even knew the kids, let alone loved them. My family told my dad they would never see my step-siblings as their grandkids. I should also maybe make it clear that my dad and maternal family did not remain close or like family after my mom died. I still saw my family, but Dad was never involved and he would go to his own family when I was with mine. I never liked my dad's family, so it was never a huge deal to me to not see them, and it's not a huge deal not to have them around at all. They were always really annoying about how girly I am, and they could never believe I would want to have a manly job when I graduate. Eve was pretty depressed when she realized she hadn't made her kids' family all that much bigger and that they had been rejected even more. So Dad decided that we would be the tightest little unit and we would all choose each other so they would know they were chosen and loved despite all the rejection. My dad decided for this to fully work I should let Eve adopt me. I refused without hearing anything else and I told him Eve will never adopt me and I don't care how much of a nice story it paints for her kids because I am not doing that for them. He told me they are little and Eve said it would mean so much to them. Dad told me part of being a big sibling is putting the younger kids first. I told them the kids were never going to be my priority and I would never go out of my way for them like that. Dad offered a compromise then of me writing and signing a contract saying I would always be their big brother and I was so lucky to choose two awesome siblings which I said no to as well. Then the adoption stuff was pushed more. Eve tried telling me I would still be able to call her Eve most of the time but just call her mom in front of her kids. Dad told me I was being selfish for refusing to do this and reiterated that the kids should be our priority. Comment 1. NTA. Eve shows that her kids' well-being means more to her than yours. Tell them, they can't push you. But you are willing to see how family dynamics will establish. But they should not push you, or you would lose interest to connect with them. Maybe also in time his family will come to like them. But he should not try to push it. Comment 2. NTA love can't be a pushed agenda from a healing fantasy. Heavily suggest reading The Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. My mom tried pushing a stepdad agenda on me and my sister towards her boyfriend who refuses to marry her even though they live together. She used to force us to sign Father's Day cards all the time for him. Stand your ground. Comment 3. Sometimes blended families work with all the kids and grandparents, extended family. Sometimes it does not work and pushing them to become a family is basically pushing them to go North Carolina when they are adults. Life is not like the Brady Bunch. No OPNTA. Your dad messed up big time here by trying to create the perfect nuclear family. Please keep in touch with your mom's side if you want to and just let things move forward as is. Last night I, 21F, cooked dinner as I usually would for my partner, 20M, and it was a chicken dish. If it makes any difference, chicken breast I had bought packaged from a supermarket yesterday and was still relatively fresh according to the use-by date. Between my partner and I, if one cooks the other will wash the dishes and put leftovers away, and so later that night my partner was washing up and went to put the leftovers away but for whatever reason decided to leave the dinner leftovers in the saucepan. I had noticed before I went to bed and asked what he was planning on doing with the leftovers and he just replied I'm taking them to work tomorrow for lunch. Fair enough I thought and I just went to bed. Come the next morning and we're both getting ready to leave for work, and by the time I had made my way downstairs my partner had already packed his lunch and was just getting ready. I thought nothing out of the ordinary and we both head off for the day. Posting in real time, I not long ago get home and I find my partner glued to the loo, groaning and moaning and some other unpleasant sounds. I ask what's wrong, and he starts going off about the chicken. I just said well I'm fine. Did you heat it up enough before eating it? And in return got a meek response of no, I ate it cold from the saucepan. I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit confused on why he was eating it from the saucepan and even more confused because I didn't see him leave this morning with a saucepan so I asked about a container. He said apparently all of our food containers have vanished from the cupboard and he hadn't washed any others the night so he just left the leftovers on the bench overnight and took them to work today. I really didn't mean to sound the way I did when I said it, but I replied why the duck would you do that, did you want food poisoning? And he fired back angrily with well last night when you asked you didn't say anything about it. Yeah well I thought it was common sense that leaving chicken out for over 12 hours, 16 hours I believe by the time he actually eats lunch, and then eating it would lead to a bad situation but apparently not, so AATA for not warning him of the consequences of eating old, unrefrigerated chicken? Or is there circumstances where that's okay and I should have warned him? Comment 1. That is a completely reasonable response to finding out that your husband has less knowledge about food safety than a 5 years old. NTAO, And yes, there are times when it's okay to eat old unrefrigerated chicken. Unfortunately, you can't tell which times those are without a microscope to see if it's contaminated with bacteria. This ends up with the deciding factor being that age-old adage, do I feel lucky? Well, do ya? Comment 2. When my kid was 5, we had gone to Long John Silver's and ordered chicken meals for all 3 of us. We were hungry and ate in the car. When we got home, we were busy putting away groceries and the kids said they were done eating, so I figured I'd toss the empty container the next day instead of going back out to the car. Next day we have to go out again. I buckle the kid into the car seat, get in the car, and we all head out. After a minute I happen to look back at my kid and they're eating a piece of chicken. We pull over and I take away the last bite, and I kinda freak out because I'm imagining hours of vomiting/diarrhea. They starts crying because I was not composed at all. I stupidly assumed they finished it the day before without checking. Somehow they ended up completely fine, which makes me wonder what Long John's does to their chicken, but they learned not only that you don't eat chicken that's been left in the car for 24 hours, but that their mother is a ducking airhead who absolutely failed at parenting that day. Comment 3. NTA, you could have mentioned it. You also didn't have to make them feel stupid while they're already suffering on the toilet, but it is pretty common sense and it's not your responsibility to tell them not to leave it out. I try to avoid making a big deal about it though. They fucked up, I'm sure they'll be more careful now.